Hi everyone and welcome to this fireside chat between Kong and Rabobank. My name is Johan Dahlström. I'm the Regional Director for Kong in the Nordics and Benelux, and with me for the second consecutive year, I have with me Frank van Valkenburg and Shweta Tiwari from Rabobank. Welcome guys.
Thank you.
Welcome. Happy to be here. Happy to be here for actually the third year even.
That's the third.
First year was a virtual conference with virtual video that I sent in. Last year we were back in Utrecht in the office, but now we're actually here with you guys. Even more excited to be here.
Yeah.
So I'm the business architect integration in Rabobank, overseeing everything to do with integration, and of course API management is a really important part of that.
Yeah. And hi, I'm Shweta. I'm the solution architect at Rabobank, working with API management.
Great. And for people that are seeing you for the first time here at Summit, can you talk to us a little bit about Rabobank, who you guys are, what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so Rabobank is one of the three largest banks in the Netherlands, mostly known for private clients, but also very much known for agricultural finance. And we're proud to be a corporation, so we're not a shareholder company, and I think that shows also in the culture of the bank. We're very much about cooperation, and you see that everywhere through the bank, and we're pretty proud of that.
Yeah. I'm sure, bet you are. So last year when you were here, we talked about your journey with Kong, and Rabobank has been using the Kong Gateway since 2020, but for the last 18 months, you've been using Kong Connect as your API management platform. And last year, you talked about the beginning of that journey. Can you update us on what's been going on in the last year or so?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. Actually, yeah, of course, last year we had basically just implemented the new platform, transitioned from another platform to the Kong Connect platform. And now that we're running that for 1.5 years, about, I think we can say that it really has an established position in the bank as the API management platform. I think I'm not exaggerating when I say that everyone in Rabobank, and we're a big company, I think only in IT alone there's 8,000 people working in Rabobank. And API management has become synonym with Kong actually. Kong is really a known name in Rabobank, known for the association with API management. And we've also learned that API management is really business critical. So we have around 300 teams working on the platform, DevOps teams working on the platform, all having their own, let's call it a micro tenant on our platform. So the stability of the platform is really important. So we're seeing that it's really important. We're focusing very much on day two operations.
Yeah.
So last year was mostly implementing the platform, getting your gateway up and running, and now it's about stability, monitoring, lifecycle management. So I think we're really good. And I think we're also still growing, right, Shweta?
Yes, it's been tremendous. We had the data from last month. It was like 2 billion calls per month. And on an yearly basis, we grow around 40% just on API traffic, and on services around 20%. So services is like new APIs being brought in the bank, etc. So that's quite nice. And with the introduction of Kong, it's only risen.
So is that according to expectation, that growth, or is that above expectation? What would you say?
I think it's even a bit more than we expected. Yeah.
Like to hear that. That means the platform is being utilized, huh?
Absolutely.
And if we talk about the implementation of that, Shweta, how have you implemented Kong Connect as your API platform?
Yeah, so with Kong Connect, we chose for a federated API gateway model, right? So we were already there with our Oracle gateway as well. So we were kind of in the federated model, but we took it one step further. So we took it like an isolated gateway, so a gateway for each team. So now we're running these mini gateways all across Rabobank. And we could do that because of how lightweight Kong is. So that's the difference between Kong and various other parties in the market, for instance. And now we had isolated gateways running in the infrastructure on premises, on cloud, and we only have plans to expand it in future. But Kong is not really on the center of it. It's an enabler for our whole API management landscape. So we have other automation around it, we have validators, we have standards and governance across the API management platform. So we have all these small components which are tied together like a jigsaw puzzle, so that, we could, if something doesn't work for it, we replace it with something else, for instance. But we use Connect and Kong, they are a core of it, but in the center of it, the thing that ties it together is an API extension, which is an automation which our providers use. So they can just use something in their API ops lifecycle. They just run some pipelines, they deploy APIs to Kong in their isolated gateways. So that's the approach that we chose for Rabobank, and it's been working quite well for us, isn't it?
Working quite well. I think you guys also noticing this, right? I think I've read one of your blog articles where previously, API platforms were all-encompassing, right? Everything in a single platform. And the trend there, and I think we're really on that trend, is actually building the platform based out of separate pieces of the puzzle. And of course, the Connect platform is an important piece in the puzzle. The individual gateways are an important piece in there. But like Shweta just said, there's lots of other components as well that make up the entire platform. And it's all glued together with automation.
Well, that's really interesting to hear. So, I mean, how does API management as such and the way you've built this platform, how does that fit into the overall IT vision for Rabobank?
Well, that's actually a really nice question. I think it fits in very nicely. So I think we've explained last year that we're organized in the so-called Spotify model. So typically that's our way of implementing Agile and DevOps, where we have many teams that try to operate as autonomously as possible. Following also a bit of the team topologies philosophy. I think that's a quite famous book and website and philosophy in the market, where we want teams to operate as autonomously as possible. And we're actually even expanding on that in Rabobank with what we call standardize at scale, where we're standardizing services. And in that sense, you want to offer everything that an engineer in an organization needs as a service. So that means actually as an API. So by offering things as a service, you make it self-service, right? So engineers don't need to cooperate a lot with the providers of the service, like previously was the case. So it's self-explanatory. It's easy to use. So we need APIs for that. So the platform is actually enabling that movement in standardization. But at the same time, and that's something I think we're really proud of, our API management platform is actually a service in itself. It is really truly a platform. It's truly a platform service that is easy to use. We take away the burden of managing the API platform for teams, but we still have some central governance over it. But teams actually own their own services on that platform.
It's very interesting to hear. We see more and more of our customers move into more of a self-service approach, that's the way to actually scale your platforms. So this other customer I was just talking to a couple of weeks ago, they also offer a self-service model. They have their developers and their developer teams just onboard a lot of services onto the platform, and they don't always have the visibility or observability or even governance to that. And that's resulted in a lot of extra traffic going through the platform that central platform team might not even be aware of. Is that a problem that you've seen at all, or how have you tackled that within Rabobank?
Yeah, it's actually funny that you bring this question up. Last week, I don't know if you know this or not, we did see a tremendous increase in the traffic on the platform. And because we have good observability around the platform, because we have good ownership around the APIs that are on the platform, we did know that something was happening, which was strange than our normal traffic, for instance. And then we could very easily identify whose API was being called because we have this good ownership in place. And we could reach out to the people, the consumer who was actually calling it. It was not even an increase in traffic. It was someone testing something, right? But on a very high TPS, which did come up like an anomaly in our traffic detection. So we do have that because of good observability that we have around the platform. We do want to improve it to be more automated and to be more a threat analysis kind of thing.
Even more proactive.
Even more proactive, for instance, So. And also it's important to know when it's the good traffic or the growth that you're expecting in when it's bad traffic or a bad actor trying to DDoS you, for instance,
exactly.
right?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So then we have these different layers at the bank, and then we just catch it at a different layer. So for example, for DDoS, we catch it at the WAF already.
Yeah.
But for any other thing which does pass to the gateway, which is true traffic, then we, because of these other things around our model in which we expose our API platform, we do have those insights. We do have the observability. These were the key foundational aspects that we wanted in the platform before we went live. And that actually helps us. And it's funny because it happened last week. So it's nice to share that.
Yeah, I think actually, so like Shweta explained earlier, even though all our teams, like the 300 teams or so, all have their own isolated gateways, their micro gateways, right? The small footprint gateways. But the fact that we have Connect overarching that, that actually enables us to have the central overview of what happens on the entire platform.
Yeah.
So would you say that without Connect, that would have been harder to achieve?
Definitely. So it's a part of Connect, but also part of the whole constellation that we described, right? The various components. But Connect is actually the overarching component that glues it all together on the gateway level.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. Then you don't have that problem.
Nope.
We do have things we can improve, but we don't have that problem right now.
That's good to hear. So we talked about your IT vision and how API management aligns to that. We see all our customers being on an API journey. They're just in different phases. And when it comes to vision, we've created this different stages of API maturity to see where our customers are at. The first three of those are, as you mentioned, maybe more IT driven. We come up to a IT-led and managed kind of phase, and after that, we go into more business-centric phases, where you have APIs aligned to the business, the strategy, and supporting growth. Where would you say Rabobank fits in this 5 phases model?
Well, I'd love to say that we're the most mature company in the world when it comes to API management, but unfortunately, we're not there. I would definitely say that we're still IT driven. So like I said, the things we're doing with Standardize at Scale is mostly focusing on IT services initially. We do see an expansion there and also using exactly the same concept for business APIs. But there again, it's still mostly bottom up. So driven from IT department, not so much driven from business. So there's room to grow on that, definitely.
And do you see it as in the cards for Rabobank to become more business-centric when it comes to APIs?
Yes, and I would actually also say that we already see some of that stuff happening there. And I think the most important part there is we need some sponsors there in the business side that actually understand this concept of service-driven functionality, if you will. So we're starting to see that, but it's just the beginning phase, I would say.
I'm very excited to hear that, though. You're entering the beginning phase there, and once the business really sees the true benefits of what you can actually get by being an API-first company, I think there's a lot to follow.
I couldn't agree more.
So for either of you, we've had a relationship for some time now. How would you say that Kong and Rabobank work together?
Yeah, I think wonderful. The relationship has been wonderful. It's been 18 months.
We wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't that.
True, leading the witness.
Yeah, indeed. I think whenever I think of Kong and Rabobank, we work together as a cohesive unit. So it's like ever since we've had these discussions, I've been involved in the RFP phases when we were choosing Kong. From there, the vision that we had and the changes that has happened as an architect from the time that we were doing that until now has been possible because there was a lot of trust between both the parties. So Rabobank trusted Kong and vice versa. We were fairly new. Kong Connect was a new product. Rabobank was fairly new to the product as well. So you can't do these things without trusting each other and without having that roadmap and being like, okay, what are the plans, and being flexible as well. So it's like, okay, this works for us, this does not. And we are able to do the design that we have today because of that flexibility and trust. So I think that's a good collaboration that we had back then. But even now, it's not a real give and take. It's not a demand and request kind of thing. So we just don't come knocking at your doors and being like, we need this now or yesterday, right? It's more of why do we need this? We try to understand things being in your shoes. And I think Kong tries to do the same thing. Sometimes we are in sessions together where we don't know who is from Kong and who's from Rabobank anymore because we are filling in each other's words and sentences. So that is how I would see at my level, the kind of collaboration that we have together with Kong.
I couldn't agree more. So I think typically I do not even consider the relationship like your typical consumer and supplier relationship. I consider our relationship a partnership. And I think perhaps the best example of that is actually the way that our API management platform has been designed actually. I think when we started this 2 years ago, neither of us knew where it's going to end up, right? So I think we decided to go with Connect in the process. And that was, I think, a joint decision. We jointly decided, that's going to work best in our particular situation. So it's a lot of giving and taking. And I think sometimes we are actually asking you guys to build some stuff that we need. And then we're challenged by you guys, but I think it's a really healthy way of working together. So we're on this journey together. I think it works very well for us. It works very well for us. I hope it works as well for you as it works for us.
I can definitely agree. And speaking for Kong, really appreciate the collaboration between Rabobank and Kong, not just us people sitting here, but all the functions and departments and people involved, listening and actually, because everyone's saying that they want a partnership, right? And then in the end, how do you get that? I think it's by really listening and trying to understand each other's challenges that can make that happen. And
we also learn that ways, right? I think the dedicated cloud gateways that you guys are now having on Kong, it's also very similar to what we have in our model. So we have these teams who are our audience and we give them a gateway according to their requirements. You have something similar with dedicated cloud gateways. You give a CSP, so a cloud where you want to deploy the gateway to, according to the size that your customers want. So I think there's similarities on our model on even that level. And then we learn from each other and we learn from what were our challenges. We can give it back to you. Some ideas from you are helpful to us. And that's where it's beneficial to both of us to have that partnership, as you said.
100%. So, I mean, before we look ahead, if we go back a little bit to, you mentioned going through a transition, you built a platform, you did a migration. What would you say are the biggest differences? Because you guys have been working with API management for quite some time. What would you say are the biggest benefits and differences? Because you mentioned going for a more lightweight approach with a lot of different gateways for different teams and so forth. What has been the main kind of benefits and outcomes from that change?
I think there's a couple of them. I think what we're now able to do is actually truly segregated traffic for our different teams. And that's, of course, something that our security department is very happy about. So that's one of the things, because every team has their own gateway. I think another really big benefit, and I think Shweta already partially mentioned that earlier, is that in the process of moving to this new API management platform based on Connect and Kong gateways, we've actually pushed part of our organization in the whole automation journey. So I think that perhaps 25 or even 1/3 of our teams was not actually used to working with pipelines. And by enforcing the use of pipelines with API management, we're pushing them into, well, this century, I would even say, in the modern way of working. I think that's a tremendous benefit. And we're reaping the benefits already of that.
So you're pushing the team to actually get more time over to do other things.
Exactly, indirectly. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it also helps us. We already see benefits of that now, right? With the isolated gateway approach as well, we actually internally at Rabobank also call these as different lanes. So everyone gets their own gateways that reduces the blast radius if something does go wrong. And we have seen us reap the benefits of the design choices because there were incidents, as is with any go live probably, but we see that the impact was lesser and we could take it and check it more easily because of these isolated gateway approach. So this is also different from back then when it was a bigger gateway and the impact was much higher for all APIs as compared to with isolated, which was a big benefit on an operational day 2 level, for instance.
Exactly, and that also translates in updates. I think we're continuously updating our gateway and our platform without even any downtime. So the fact that we're continuously updating, that was a huge hassle previously, especially also because it impacted all the teams at once.
Yeah.
And now we can do that gradually.
Yeah. Some pipeline runs previously used to take us 30 minutes to 1 hour. And now it's like fully containerized and it goes really smooth.
I love it. You're spilling the beans too. From 30 to 60 minutes to how fast? Very fast.
Very fast, yeah. Because it's a number of gateways, so a bit longer, but it's containerized, it's lightweight, it's faster for sure. Wow. I've been an engineer in one of the teams previously as well. So I am a bit of a techie as well. So I know these numbers and I know the differences.
More than a bit.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that. Solid outcomes there. And if we look ahead, what's next for you guys in this space?
A lot, actually. When we had the go live, we were like, oh, a major chunk of our work is done, right? We were like, oh, now we're going to relax. It's like we are live. We have no more work to do, but it wasn't the case. Our backlogs are full. Our roadmaps are full. To give you a sneak peek, we are working to expanding the Kong project. As Frank said, we want Kong to be it is currently the de facto, but we also want it to be the de facto in Rabobank overall. So not only in Netherlands, but also in Brazil. So we are expanding in Brazil. Hopefully in 2 weeks or 3 weeks now, we'll be live in Brazil. So that is a huge achievement. The teams have been working really hard for that. We are also going to expand in other regions of Rabobank soon. Also on different gateways, different clouds, sorry. We are on Azure right now. We are moving to AWS soon. So that's the kind of expansion to make Kong the de facto API management platform in Rabobank. That's one of the things that we are working on. The other things is that we had these, when we started the platform, we had these standards and governance because we wanted to make sure that the quality of the things on the platform are also good. So that central component, the extensions together with the validator ensures it. But now we are also bringing it to another level to make it more of an API standards, which is community driven.
Yeah.
We already had the first version of it live, and now we're working more towards getting it out there. Apart from that, we also have harmonization across different integration patterns, right?
Yeah, so what we learned actually by the way that we've implemented the API management platform, especially the way we onboard developers on the platform, the way we do subscription management, actually the whole mechanism where consumers subscribe to an API and get allowed access to APIs. The way that we publish the APIs in our central integration catalog, we're actually expanding that to our other capabilities as well. So capabilities like event streaming, file transfers, MQ. We still have quite some MQ. We're a bank, right? We're an old organization. So we're seeing that all the good stuff that we initiated with this platform, it works so well that we're actually broadening that to the entire integration landscape.
Well, that's wonderful to hear.
Indeed.
Like API management being like teaching you guys how to, not that teaching you, but I mean, you're doing that as a platform, and then you can mimic that.
Absolutely. It's the trailblazer for everything we do in integration, actually.
Yeah. And another question when people hear about isolated gateways and that we have gateways per team, also a question that pops up is FinOps, right? So what about the costs? So that's an exciting question. I'm pretty sure the audience also might be interested in it, but we are also working hard towards that. So that's also FinOps, sustainability. That's also something that is next steps to it. And because we have these lightweight gateways, we are going to be more smarter there. There is new technologies which are helpful in that way. So that's also the next steps, FinOps as well.
Nice. A lot of interesting next steps coming.
Like I said, we're never finished.
Never finish.
I wished, but no.
Well, Shweta, Frank, thank you so much for joining me here today and talking more about your journey. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. And also be sure you'll hear more from Frank, Shweta, and the Rabobank team in the future.